3, 2. Good evening, guys. Hope you're all well. Good evening, Mr. McCaffrey. How are you?
I am wonderful. I have had a lovely day. I think it's like 25 degrees outside. I did contemplate on doing this live outside, and then I figured there'd be too much wind interference, and my kit would probably start pulling the leads in my laptop or some nonsense. So I stuck for a more conservative approach.
Cool. That's us live. I've just seen the post go up. So, guys, yeah, we've spent quite a long time going through some kind of behind-the-scenes content. Well, not behind-the-scenes content, but we'll just say we've spent a lot of time with some kind of high rollers, big sellers on Amazon, namely one in particular who's going to remain anonymous, doing big numbers, got to sort of 10 million plus a year. He has an account manager, a senior account manager, and account manager below him, kind of advising what the new normal looks like, really. So this is stuff that is from behind the curtain, whatever kind of turn of phrase that you want to use. We've spent a lot of time in other groups as well, trying to see what other people are saying about this. And quite frankly, it's been pretty poor, and there hasn't really been any real insight into why this has happened. First of all, the kind of thinking behind Amazon, why they've decided to do this at this time. No real kind of insight at all, as I said, but I think just from the get-go, we've spent a lot of time on this for our own businesses, obviously, and also just to share a little bit with you guys. Now, what I would say just from the get-go, we will give people the opportunity to book calls off the back of this, and the reason being, we've went down a lot of rabbit holes with this. There is a lot to know about this, and there's only so much that we can kind of get across with a few slides and kind of our insight. So yeah, with all that said and done, I'll pass across to Mr. McCaffrey. I'm just going to let a few people know that we're live, there's a few people that wanted to be let known whenever we went live, so I'm just going to reach out and just tag them with posts and stuff. So yeah, across to you, Mr. McCaffrey.
Are you able to share the slides, please?
You want me to share the slides?
I'm a diva. Excuse me, you're not getting me to do manual labor like clicking buttons. That I have a squad of EAs that do that, so this evening you're my glamorous assistants, even if you do have grey hair.
Eamon.
Yes, sir.
Like we explained before we went live, you need to share the slides because I can't be in the stream when we're sharing, because then it gets really quite difficult. So,
I know, and I acknowledged that, and then I said that I couldn't be bothered doing that, but okay, I will do your job for you. So, how do I then share the slideshow? Media. Upload.
Set the screen.
No, I'm genuinely scuppered a wee bit here. Can I just share my screen?
Yeah, you can just share your screen, and yeah, just obviously make the slideshow. The slides the main part of this.
Okay, so like in here. I'm gonna close Facebook, so I'm on the right one. All right. Screen. Sure. So I should be now sharing my screen. Is that correct?
I'm just going to tip out of the stream so that, yeah.
I am actually running it live on my phone as well, just to be a nosy. So let me check in there.
How are you?
I am wonderful. So, Yeah. My understanding is people should now be able to see my screen. So I want to start off with this. And
it's not there, mate.
Not there?
No. I can do it. It's just difficult to kind of. Okay, I can do it.
Oh, I've got it.
Yeah.
Should I be doing that though? No. Hide. Stop sharing. Screen. Window. This one. Share. Show on screen. Much better? Should be us now.
It's not.
No?
No, mate. That's not. Let me just. It'll just be easier. Okay, right. So if I
There you go. But it's quite small. Get rid of me. There we go. That is us now. So, my understanding is you might be able to see Lloyd, but you can see me. Am I correct? So what I want to do is go through some of the issues with restock limits. I hope this is large enough for you. First thing I wanted to get through, I've seen this happen so many times. I've seen a couple of people post messages from Amazon and asking questions in different groups. There is a lot of people who seem to be very concerned or confused with the difference between storage limits and unlimited storage. And I've heard people saying, I have unlimited storage, why have I got a storage limit? And the fact of the matter is that I'll go into a bit of history about it in a minute. Amazon are trying to get it to the point where they're trying to make a fair playing field for everyone. You could have unlimited storage, which means you could send in 5 pallet loads of stock, but it might only be 100 units, or you could send in 1 pallet of stock and it'd be 10,000 units. And what they're trying to do is to make sure that you have enough stock to fulfill between a month to 6 weeks of your estimated sales. Amazon run fulfillment centers. They fulfill orders. They do not act as a storage facility, and that is what they want to get across. They're not here to house your stuff. They're not a warehouse facility where you're just going to go, I send it all to a prep center, then Amazon stores it, and then anywhere within a day to a month or 6 months or a year later, I sell it. Those days are over, and I am sorry to be blunt. I know sellers that had 200,000 units in stock with an API score of over 800. I don't know anybody else in any groups that have a score of over 800. And their storage capacity was slashed from 200,000 units to 102,000. API score will help you. API score will make sure that you're not limited when we go past the 26th month of the year, which is in June, so that you're not limited in the volume of storage for Q4. However, what you need to be improving, and this is critical if you want to improve your limit, is the sell-through rate. So while your API affects your limits, you will still have a limit. Let me see. Speaking to, I can't remember his name now, owns a logistics company, and they were saying that at one fulfillment center, there's 2,500 pallets of stock waiting to be checked into fulfillment centers. And the question is, if you were Amazon, whose stock would you prioritize? Would you be prioritizing private label? Would you be prioritizing grocery? Would you be prioritizing health and beauty? Would you be prioritizing Eamon McCaffrey stock, Lloyd Jones, Kelvo Boyle? Whose stock would you be prioritizing? and that is the problem they have. So they're trying to level the playing field. Lloyd, are you able to change it over to the next slide? Yeah, no. Let me see. Can I change the slide? Lloyd? Great. Third grade maths. Ian would have fell out. Aye, he was. He was meant to do that, you know. Leave it in, Lloyd. It's funnier. So, bottom line is warehouses are filling up. Last year, Q4, there was logistic issues with checking in times for pallets. And that was, you know, even before COVID hit, there was those sort of mistakes. Amazon is learning from that. In the last year, there's been a massive increase in hobbyist sellers, for a poor choice of words. People that have started selling, but they're not full-time sellers, and there's logistics there. There's two ways of looking at this. You can see this as being a shot across the bows to get your house in order, because Amazon want a more efficient Q4. But realistically, Lloyd and I filled this in at the start of the week, and then I went down a couple of rabbit holes, and I realized that this is much, much more in depth. This is not going to be for 3 weeks. This is not Amazon trying to clear a bit of space for Prime Day. This is not just Amazon trying to get people to tidy up a wee bit, clear a wee bit of breathing space, and then they are going to improve. I want to just bring up a couple of quotes that I found, and they genuinely scared me and made me realize that we are acting like medium-sized fish in a big pond. In reality, we are tadpoles in an ocean. And that is simply because we are not looking at this on the bigger picture. What I would like, Lloyd, can you change to the next slide, please? And it's going to make people wet themselves. In the meantime, I just want to go through a couple of stats. Hi, Lloyd. Since in 2019, Amazon increased storage capacity by 15% for the amount of storage it had. It was expected to increase it by 50% in 2020, and it actually increased its storage capacity by 60%. It increased its storage capacity square footage by 2/3. Sorry, yeah. And they've run out of space. They have increased employees by over 400,000, and they have now 1.2 million people working globally. And the bottom line is they are running out of space. And it is all because of this email. I don't know if you can read it. So for those that are possibly not able to read it, I will read it verbatim, because this is massive. This is an email from Sebastian Gunningham in January 2015, where he is emailing the top bigwigs in Amazon to Jeff, Wilkie, Diageo, Harrington, and Doug, the big players at the top of Amazon. And he is saying that they are actively campaigning for Chinese sellers to start selling on Amazon. I'm being told by many on the ground that the word is out. We are the place to sell globally, not eBay, not AliExpress, not Taboo. Seems to be a lot of excitement on the ground. Our recruit numbers are accelerating from 15,000 to 50,000 sellers by the end of the year. That was 6 years ago. One of the things that Chinese factories have been making stuff for Walmart and the likes for the past 20 years now realize they have a shot at building a brand themselves and selling directly to the world without an intermediary, and we are the vehicle. Goes down talking about the logistics and the efforts that they're putting into it in China to encourage Chinese sellers. 6 years ago, Amazon had 100 executives focused on this, which leads us on to the next slide. Lloyd, if you can bounce it over to the next slide. Chinese sellers now account for vast proportions of the sales within Amazon. New seller accounts, I believe, was up. Let me see if I can get it here. 4.5 new sellers have joined since 2017, which is a rate of 3,500 per day, which is 1 or 2 every minute globally. These new sellers joining every minute globally. I believe those figures for the UK are about 120,000, of which most of those accounts most people will never sell. Something like 60% of all sellers set up an account on Amazon never sell a single item. 85 people only make it past their first 2 to 3 years, and then they filter out bad experiences. But within that, this is the breakdown of global sales. And I know people are sitting looking at this going, Eamon, what's the point? How's this going to help me storage limits? Bear with me. Until you get to the understanding of the mindset of Amazon executives at the very top, you're never going to understand what's going on in your account. So Amazon UK accounts for 8% of all global sales.
I think it's worth aiming
yes,
maybe
sir.
to try and bring a few people in from live. If anyone kind of has anything they want to bring up at this stage. So we've kind of covered the influx of Chinese sellers.
Well, what I wanted to do is come on to just 1 or 2 more points before I get to that. I can see some of the messages coming through here. The one thing I did want to say is, as of March 2019, as of March 2020, 33% of all sellers on Amazon UK platform, 33%, so a third of them, had their residency address within China. So if we go back a couple of months ago, there was a storage limit of 200 units. That was to try and sort out storage capacity. If you were buying 200 units out of Superdrug, 200 units out of Boots, that was fine. If you were a private label brand and you were shipping in 10,000 units at a time and suddenly you were told, well, 9,800 of them have to stay at the docks, it was crippling private brands. So they've changed it now to say, we want you to have a sell-through rate. Amazon are very clearly saying we are not a storage facility, we are a fulfillment facility. We want you having a month to 6 weeks of stock in. It is up to you how you manage it. We want you to have lines in stock. They don't just want it whereby you send in 5 months supply and then replenish at the end of the 5 months. They want you to make sure that you're not out of stock so that their customers are not going to their competition. But they also want to make sure that you're not clogging up the warehouse with 12 months worth of inventory. Lloyd?
Yeah.
Do you want to bring in somebody now?
Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for a few questions to filter through if anyone watching live has questions. I mean, there is a lot to take in, so it's maybe better to wait till the end, run through the slides. So a lot of questions will kind of be covered, excuse me, towards the end of the live. So yeah, cool. So yeah, I can go back on, share my screen, and then we'll get the slideshow going again. I'm just going to...
I just want to pick up there. Andy Henry has just put up a point. Very, very valid point going, yeah, we don't want to be storing stuff either. We wanted to sell. So, Andy, couldn't agree with you more. I don't send stuff into Amazon for them to mind it for me. I want it to sell. What they want you to do is improve your sell-through rates. So, they want you looking at your stock. Bottom line, you shouldn't have stock in there over 90 days. I've seen lives of other people done during the week. A lot of people returning old stock. I have to say I've done it myself for a few items, but I know people were sitting saying, oh, well, at least we're not going to be charged long-term storage fees. And you're correct. There will be benefits to this. Gone are the long-term storage fees. Gone are the saying, I've no capital because of 10 grand tied up in stock, because you shouldn't. It should be shifting and moving. This is going to get people tighter on their sourcing, tighter on their inventory management, and tighter on going, I didn't even realize it was out of stock on that. I went to look at an item yesterday, wondering why it hadn't sold in 2 days. I was out of stock. Down to poor account management. That's what Amazon wants you tighter on. And they're being very clear about this.
Just pull up the next few slides. So
Kelvo says, constant sellers, constant replans. That's what it's about. It's going to change the dynamics of arbitrage. You are going to have items that are obviously seasonal, and for that there are you can disregard the replan notification, which will improve your API score. You don't need to be deleting old listings. I know there's been a mad scramble to delete old listings. You don't need to be doing it. There is a couple of things you can do. First off, have a look at your inventory age. You want to be getting everything down to under 90 days. Anything between 180 and 360 you need to be focusing on, and anything over 360, burn it today. First things first, go in, look at how many shipments you've created but never sent them in. For those working in fulfillments or those working with the prep center, I'm assuming the prep center isn't leaving dead listings sitting there, so that mightn't be an issue with you. But if you have it, for example, you've created a shipment, you then wanted to duplicate it to add on more items, and you've left the old shipment sitting there with maybe 400 or 500 units in it, that is counted towards your storage limit. Amazon counts the storage limit by total number of units in stock plus total number of units inbound plus total number of units with created shipments, and that is given your storage capacity. So if you have 1,000 items sitting in shipments that you're never going to send in because they were duplicates, Amazon's considering that as a potential 1,000 units of your storage capacity. That is the first thing you want to do. You then want to be going in and going down to the items that are replenishable. If it's coming up saying Galaxy Caramel Easter egg, please replenish 100 units of this, and obviously you're not going to be doing that now, you want to be hitting hide the notification for this. You don't need to be deleting the listing. If it makes you feel any better for IP claims or stuff like that there, make a note of the ASIN, your source and stuff like that, put it all into a Google Doc, and then delete the ASIN if you wish, but you don't need to be doing that. One thing you do need to be doing, let me see if I can come in here. I want to see if I can take over the screen. No? No, I thought I could possibly try and take over it.
Hi, mate. No, if you just let me know what you want on the slides. So
sure. Yeah. So what I want you to do is go down to what to do. So if you go to that first one, part 1. Yep. So your inventory age report, I cannot stress enough, this has come directly from the Amazon account manager. Your inventory age report, we have the hyperlink down at the bottom here. It's not on the graph. We will be dropping it into the chat afterwards. It should take you directly to your own inventory age. You can see at the top where it says help, fill my Amazon FBA inventory, business reports, inventory by age. From that, you will see that you can download a report of all your inventory, and you can see the sell through. When I downloaded it as a CSV and dropped it into an Excel document, it was column AI for me. You look at that and you need to have a score of greater than 1. 0 is going to mean that you're out of stock. If it's less than that, it is either because you either have too much stock or not enough stock. And the way they work that is they base that on percentage of total number of potential sales over a 6-week period. So they do not want you sitting with loads of stock. They do not want you out of stock. They want you finding that Goldilocks perfect happy medium where you have just enough inventory in their fulfillment center to last for a month to 6 weeks. Bottom line, I have 505 active SKUs as of yesterday afternoon. 403 of them had a score less than 1. I have 86% of my 86% of my activations are under 90 days old. I had let my IPA drop down to 497 simply because I was out of stock on a couple of units, and I thought I was doing all right. According to that sell-through rate, I'm doing woefully bad. I had let a lot of good sellers run out of stock because I hadn't replenished them. And I had a couple of things in there where I just far too much inventory. There were small light items, and I banged in 200 or 300 of them going, sure, I don't have to worry about them for 4 months. And Amazon is very clearly saying, you don't have to worry about them, but until they sell, you're not sending in anything else. So the first thing you want to do is have a look at that inventory age report. Look at what items are overstocked, overage, and out of stock. Those are your key active points. You then want to go through and look at the items that are advising you to replan. If it's something obvious like an Easter egg that you're not going to replenish in May and June, you want to hit disregard for that one, acknowledge and disregard, or delete the ASIN. Lloyd, can you drop down to, the next one there? I've covered that inventory age. How to improve your sell-through. You drop down to slide 10, Lloyd, please. Here is one taken from my inventory this evening. And this shows you what you can do to improve your sell-through. Your sell-through rate is going to be your be-all and end-all from now on. When you hear people talking about, oh, I did a grand turnover today, oh, I have 25% margin, the next thing you're going to be seeing in groups is, what is your sell-through rate? If you can say 90% of my products are sitting at a sell-through rate of 1, that is going to be the next bragging figure. So this is a screenshot of my account. I think the top 2 items are sourced from Superdrug and the bottom one's from Playmobil. Let's be realistic. People can find them anyway. As you can see there, don't know if you can see it, your price, my first item sitting at £30.73p and match price £27.96. I have several options. I can lower my price, create a sale, edit the listing, try to improve keywords, or create a removal order. So you've got a couple options. Either improve your listing, and if it's a generic listing or it's a listing you share because it's not a private label item, that's not a very viable option, or you can improve your price. You can see their inventory age is showing that I have 12 items less than 90 days. Out of all of them, the second item is the one that are 91 to 180 days. That is the one I need to focus on. That is the one where I want to look at lowering my price. And I know it's very easy for me to say lower your price and get a sale. If you have bought an item and somebody's crashed the price, and due to the price you purchased it at and your fulfillment costs, if you try and match that price, you're going to sell it at a loss. That means you're just going to have to get sharper in your sourcing. This is going to have impacts on the arbitrage model. It plain and simply is. Some people will say, and I've already seen it, some groups are just going to say, stuff this, I'm away at eBay, I can't be bothered with this nonsense. Let me know how to set up Fulfilled by eBay, because I'd love to get started in that too. Other people are going to be, I'm way back to work. It was great while it lasted, but there's too much effort with Amazon. And Amazon's pretty happy with that, because they, as showed by that email, they are wanting to develop brands. They want brands in Amazon. They want consistent sellers that are going to toe the line and play to their matrix. They are not looking for somebody that's going to come on, send out 100 units every second Tuesday of the month and hope for the best for a bit of side money for Christmas. If you're wanting to do that, well and good, have at it, but you're going to find that you're going to have limited storage capacity. Thomas Parkinson saying there, we're seeing lots of people's accounts at 60-day sell-through rate is where you're hit with storage limits. Roughly speaking, what I have seen is a lot of people's accounts seem to have been slashed by about 60%. And when you work out the number of units you have for your limit and the number of units you're selling per month, they're roughly giving you about a 2-month supply, anywhere between 6 weeks to 2 months. So that is what I can deduct there. Kel was saying they want you to have 30 units of 29 sales. Not just as tight as that.
I think that's where, Eamon, I think that's worth going over again. So
Yes, sir.
rough rule of thumb, they are slashing everyone's limits by 60%, and a rough estimate is 2 months worth of
Yeah.
stock. Was that, Eamon? So if you look at what you've sold in terms of not sales, not numbers, but actual units. If you look at the units, if you're doing 100 units a day, if you're doing 10 units a day, well, it's easy. It's 303,000. So if you look at how many units you're doing over the last 2 months, it's not too far off your actual restock limit. Well, mine and certainly Eamon's anyway, that we've looked at. So yeah, I think it's important to kind of, obviously exceptions and all that type of stuff, but that's kind of what they're looking at. So Amazon are really wanting this to be a lot leaner. They don't want to be storing your inventory for much longer than they need to. So you need to be, well, in terms of what we've done so far the last sort of week, I've hired another member of the team who's coming on board shortly to kind of help with inventory management. Basically, another set of hands to kind of deal with, like Eamon said, gone are the days where you can send in a couple of thousand units, let it sit there for 3 or 4 months, and then replenish it. You can still replenish the same items. You're just going to have to do it little and often. So, yeah, there's a lot more.
Question, Lloyd, and I haven't really discussed with you. What is going to be your plan going forward?
It's just, I mean, I think I put a post up last week when this happened. It was the Wednesday. God, is that only a week? Yeah, I mean, Wednesday last week was the anniversary of me getting my account back. I got suspended over a year ago. And within kind of any crisis, there's an opportunity. And I don't want to get bogged down in cliches and terms of phrases and things like that. But genuinely, when things like this happen, there's an opportunity to improve what you're actually doing. So the way we're going to do it is that we're going to get a lot smaller in terms of our orders. Now, I would actually say, I mean, I've seen people get banned from the likes of Sainsbury's because they've put massive grocery orders in, and issues with Argos or whatever, you're putting massive orders in and you're perhaps not registered as a business or whatever. So Argos go, they're a reseller. So if you're putting smaller orders in more often, that will help with things like account suspension from actual sources. So that's a very kind of minimal positive, but
cash flow.
Cash flow as well.
Cash
and
flow
you're going to need a team. You need a team to support you doing this. It's very, very challenging to do it, to manage that. Well, I'm just building the team out. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it as an opportunity to really improve what we're sending and how often we're sending it. Just bringing in actually potentially 2 more people to kind of help source and deal with this. So that's the way I'm going to look at it, just to actually improve the business, to deal with the added workflow that comes with extra orders, extra reconciliation, all that type of stuff. So that's the way I'm approaching it. I'm just going to drop that link. Yeah, I thought you might.
I'm going the right way.
Drop that link in. So, see, drop that link in. How are you managing things, Mr. McCaffrey?
I've been putting in large orders, and then I have been doing a couple of days intensive prep and dumping that stock into Amazon, and Amazon are very clearly slapping me in the face going, no, bad boy. So if I'm putting in stuff with the cost per prep, my sort of plan is I want to be holding a little bit more stock close to hand so that I can get cheaper shipping rates, stuff like that, particularly with the wholesale route, with a lot of my stuff coming from that way. Minimum orders, cheaper by the pallet, certain things like that. So what I'll be doing is I will be doing it from that respect, and then keeping a close eye on my store, my availability of stock within Amazon fulfillment centers. So instead of sending in 300 units of one item, which is 3 or 4 months supply, I will still be buying the same amount of stock, but only creating 3 shipments into Amazon of 100 units at a time. Similar to yourself, but I will be purchasing stock still the same. I know that is not going to be as effective for cash flow, but it allows me with volumetric discounts. It also then opens up the notion of merchant fulfilled and selling fulfilled prime. But realistically, something like only 10% of sellers that were offered seller fulfilled prime within the US were kept on as seller fulfilled prime sellers simply because they couldn't step up to the plate. They couldn't get the stuff out the door at weekends. They couldn't guarantee tracking and be competitive in price. And I don't want to be putting a noose around my own neck saying that I have to be trying to prep orders on a Saturday, that I have to always be there to do that. So merchant orders is not going to be something that I'm going to be pushing very, very much. I have a couple of larger items, bulky items that I do. That's about the height of it. I see Lizette saying there, go wide instead of deep on one product. Yeah, go wide, but then that gives you more SKUs to manage. I think what you want to be doing is getting a core list of replenishable items and sticking to those, building out a good core replenishable list that you know that are going to be selling 20, 30 units a month, that you know your numbers on, that are stable, and building that out from there. And if everybody sort of wants to maybe email me a list of their core replenishable items, I will make sure there's no conflict of interest so that we can all just share that sensibly. So if you want to just send me all your best leads, I will manage that system. Do you guys feel this will affect the small and light program with reductions in inventory affect number of sellers on SKUs? Chris, yeah, I know there's a couple of items that I have run out on, not even in the small and light program. I've run out, I can't replenish, and the other sellers have upped their prices simply because, well, I'm not there to tank the price in the listing anymore. It is going to have a lot of dynamics, both positive and negative, on a lot of listings. If you are going to stick to my advice and follow stick to your core items that are working well for you rather than the outliers that sells one every 6 months, it is going to reduce the number of sellers on certain listings, which if you decide to stick with that product will be a win for you. If you're in a listing with 8 sellers and it's only selling half a dozen times a month and 4 or 5 of them decide it's not worth their effort, that just reduces the competition by half. So yeah, that will benefit you there. Let me see. Anish is sitting saying retail has always been 90-day inventory. So these are all retailers. End of the day, lads and ladies, these are retailers, and you have to get wise to the way of it. You've seen the likes of Debenhams. They got sunk simply because they were trying to hold too much space. They were renting, paying through the nose for rent, and they weren't in touch with the market. We are very small sellers in the grand scheme of things. Not to be insulting, we are. We have the capability to be dynamic, to move quickly with market changes. I'm pretty sure anybody that was selling March 19, at least some of you sold Dettol wipes, sprays, hand sanitizer, toilet roll or something because you've seen a niche in the market. Now, if you go into a lot of them listings, Amazon's there. They weren't there at the start because they couldn't move their gears quick enough. We can. And with this, we can move quickly too. Tidy up your IPI score by going into that inventory report, seeing which items you're out of stock on. If you're not going to replenish it, disregard the replenish. If you are going to restock it, see how many times a month it's selling and make sure you're not running out of stock. Even if that means, by my approach of holding stock locally to yourself in a storage unit, your backyard, and wherever, and sending it in. But Amazon want you to be tighter on the amount of stock you have on hand. A month is 6 weeks supply on stock at all times. Nothing more, nothing less. Goldilocks.
Goldilocks. So, guys, I hope that's been insightful and helpful. Like I said at the start, there's a lot more to this as well. If anyone does want to book a call to discuss anything like this, or improving your sourcing or improving your systems within the business, that's what we do. That's why we're kind of been able to navigate this. Just for if it helps anyone, because not everyone watching this or who will watch it is kind of fortunate enough to be full time at this. We are now taking calls at the weekend. We have a guy called Liam who is working with us now. Fantastic guy. Cover everything that we can cover. So if we're not available, if we're booked up or the times don't suit, we're able to take calls at the weekend as well. So let's see if there's any. So sorry.
Karen has asked a question, or I just want to acknowledge her in the live. So just run the report and have numbers ranging from 0 to 12 in the sell-through AI column. I need to aim for each row to be over 1. Yes. The guy that told me this information, I was like, no. You mean less than 1? Because 80% of my items are less than 1. He's like, no, over 1, which means you have, I can't remember the exact breakdown of it, but it's pretty much you have 1 item per every day of sales sort of thing. I think. I can't remember the exact breakdown of it, but you're looking for a target of 1. If you're sitting with 30, yeah, fantastic. If you're sitting with 12, great. If you're sitting with 0.5 or 0, that either means you're sitting on a mountain of stock or you're out of stock. And you can go look at your 0 to 90 day inventory limits. If you're sitting with 500 units, probably too much. If you're sitting with 0 units, well, then get it replenished. This is really going to make people focus on the replenishing. A lot of groups you hear people talking about, I can't find deals are becoming saturated. Go and look at your replenishables, see what you can do to improve them. See, just because you've been buying something out of Superdrug and it's cheap, Hasbro's got it cheaper. Can you find another supplier for it? Just because you find it from one retailer doesn't mean there's no other retailer doesn't have an offer on it. This was one of the reasons why I pushed into wholesale, because there's more dynamics in it. There's been items there's one item, that's one of my best-selling items, has been from one wholesaler and phoned them up and says, hey, I'll double my order if you can lower the price. And they were like, yeah, sure, should be able to do it. And then they replied, it'll be October before we can get you the stock. And I was like, doesn't really work for me. Phoned up another whole supplier and asked them, guys, can you get us this? By that afternoon, they were like, yeah, we can get it. We can beat their price. This is something that's not easily available on the high street. And it's things like that there where you're going to be able to scale. You're going to have to get tighter on your inventory management. It sounds daunting now. I have spent several late nights this week going through everything, going through Facebook groups, different things. One thing I will say is I've been seeing a lot of people pulling back stock and saying about how much money they're losing. This is doing you a favor. If this is losing you money now and you're going to suffer and hurt for 1 month, it is better for you to suffer and hurt for 1 month and get a serious slap in the face and reevaluate the way you're doing things than for this to run long term, for you to be sitting there with tens of thousands of pounds of potential stock sales and it never sell. So you're building up mountains of stock that you can't get rid of. You need to be tighter in your numbers. I
think you used the phrase a few weeks ago. It was like in March, someone flicked the easy switch, or it was like a cheat code in like a computer game. I mean, last year has been incredible in more ways than one, and not to be too dramatic. This is we're kind of going into the next phase of it. So what I would say is that, yeah, it's going to be tougher and kind of more challenging, but when that comes up, you need to level up a little bit and kind of take it for what it is and either go, yeah, okay, well, I'll move on, or I'm going to level up and lean into it. So, I think, guys, like for me, I'm going to really kind of enjoy the challenge over the next period of time to deal with this. If there's any other questions, we can answer them now if you guys want to book in a call or anything like that. But I think we're going to kind of wrap that up now. So Eamon, is there anything that you would want to add?
I see Paul has one question there, so I'll acknowledge his question. If I've missed any other questions, guys, it's simply because I haven't seen it. Please send me a question directly. I'm easily found on Facebook. Paul has asked, is the new software opportunity I mentioned going to affect with changes? Yeah, there's a lot of dynamics to that. If you suddenly have a list to a lot of wholesalers and capability of placing a lot of large orders and you're limited storage capacity, obviously that's going to be a challenge. So you're going to have to try and organize the logistics of storing it on hand, external from Amazon fulfillment centers. It will allow you to get a lot tighter on what you're ordering and replenishables, but I'm not going to discuss that too much at the moment, just now, as it's still very much in development. Yeah, Kel was sitting messaging there going, what are you giggling about? And the notion at the end of Shawshank Redemption, I know it's an old film, where he's going, it's time to either get busy living or get busy dying. This is going to make or break several Amazon sellers, I would say, in the groups. Even sellers that are flexing big numbers, where their margins might be quite tight, they're either going to have to get sharper on it and narrow down their product range to try and work on that. People for the next while are going to be panic selling. I seen one item today where a guy was selling it at the same purchase price because I seen it was being purchased out of Argus. If you're trying to match their price, you're going to be selling at a loss. That's a conscious decision you're going to have to make. But there will be opportunities if you're prepared to step up to the plate, if you're doing Amazon full time, if you're determined to make a go of this. There will be opportunities whereby once you're tighter in your numbers, your limits will increase as you grow. Whatever your limit is now, that is not the be all and end all. Your limits will increase as you grow. As you grow, your limits will increase. You will get tighter in your numbers. You will not be holding as much money tied up in stock because you're not going to have stock sitting at 100, 180 days, 300 days old. And you're going to know your winners better. You're not going to be out of stock as much. And you should see your turnover and profits increase on the back of that. But in the short term, it's going to be a bit more work. It might require an admin VA, which we can help you with. It might require looking at local storage. It might require taking on more prep. There is avenues, there is opportunities. And Lloyd said it was very poetic. This is the ripple in a pond from a stone thrown 6 years ago. There is now a lot more sellers in Amazon, and Amazon is not going to be your storage facility, their fulfillment centers. And that's the bottom line. Store your own stuff, send in enough to sell for the next month to 6 weeks. Don't expect after Prime Day for Amazon to say, by the way, lads, we just found 3 empty warehouses, send in as much as you want. And take this as time to get your ducks in a row and your numbers in line for Q4. Because if you don't, you will have limited storage and limited replens, and you're gonna struggle. And those that have got their house in order today are the ones that are going to make bank come Q4. That's all I got to say about that. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I want to watch. I feel like sticking Shawshank on, but there's a football match about to start. So,
Shawshank's much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, hope that's been useful. Any questions? Yeah, we can answer them and follow-ups and things. So I hope that's been useful. And if there's nothing else from him, there's nothing else from me. So over and out, guys, and have a good one. Stay cool. Bye-bye.
Good night.